Avatar The Last Airbender is one of my favorite cartoons of all time. It has great characters, great writing, great funny humor. It's a modern masterpiece that are just rare gems of Western cartoons in the future. The follow-up for this legendary masterpiece is Legend of Korra, and it's about as good of a quality as any follow-up can be, as in, it's not that great. The first season was okay, with tons of flaws, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. The second season was god awful. It completely loses focus and direction, too many subplots and stories being shoved in. The only saving grace of it was the first Avatar story, which was somewhat interesting, but that felt shoehorned in the last minute. Third and fourth season were produced back to back, and they're both equally good, or at least I enjoyed them both. The writing is significantly improved, and there are some surprisingly nice themes and brutal deaths being explored, but that only gives the overall impression of the entirety of Legend of Korra being just a very weak follow-up to Legend of Aang at best. And this is me being very tolerant to the show, which I am. I think the show has potential. It's just ruined with two incredibly poor starting seasons and horrendous romance subplots that even the most tolerant of Korra defenders would ditch without question. Why am I talking about Korra? Well, just like Legend of Aang, Korra has another follow-up in the form of comic books. These comic books, well, regardless of what you think about Korra or what ER told you about Korra, do you really need ER to tell you how the second season sucked? I'm going to show you a couple of the panels here just to illustrate the legacy of Legend of Korra. It is turned into full-blown political Tumblr fanfiction complete with horrendously blatant agenda pushing. For the most of its history, the Fire Nation was tolerant too, but then Fire Lord Sozin took power. He decreed that same-sex relationships were criminal. Why? God knows why. Keep in mind that this is canon. This looks like it's written fanfiction, but it's completely canon. And Korra reacts with, "That guy was the worst." Yeah, he was the worst not for committing fucking genocide everywhere, but because he outlawed LGBT people completely out of nowhere. Like, what's the motive for Sozin to be a homophobe? There's no ideological reasoning or basis for all of this. Hell, the concept of homosexuality is never grasped throughout the entire show, with the exception of the last couple of seconds of the show, and that was terrible. And there's a good reason why they don't explore homosexuality in the children's show, because homosexuality is not the kind of subject that children would comprehend. You know, I'm the sort of person who look at Korra and Asami and go, yeah, they're cute together, I'd like that. So instead of expanding upon the tease that you put in the end of the show, you decided, yeah, let's shove in political propaganda here so that we can make them to be an issue. And by the way, from what I've seen, I think this comic is probably all going to be about how Korra and Asami are cute couples together, oh, and everything is hunky-dory until the Fire Nation attack or something. It's a canon comic with fanfiction level of quality, and by fanfiction level of quality, I mean, it's just literally the author jerking off. It reminds me of that guy in the new Powerpuff Girls who self-inserts himself in the show to romance one of the Powerpuff Girls. Yeah, it's about as creepy as you can get, and I'd rather not show it to you. Even Avatar Kyoshu, by all accounts loved men and women, was unable to effect any kind of real progress. I mean, wow. Just freaking wow. Kyoshi is bisexual now, the most irrelevant freaking information that I've ever given to me in a while. As if you thought that Avatar Korra can rape the series even more for being a weak follow-up, here's bisexual Kyoshi. I think this is one of the many major consequences of having fanships to be canon. I've seen this happening from time to time. The fanships are ruining canon because canon is now all about the ship instead of about the actual story at hand. A good example of this is Oliver and Felicity from Arrow. At first it's kind of cute, but then it ruins the entire freaking show starting from season 3 onwards. It's becoming a really damn cancerous subplot. Hell, I would argue that romance subplots in general, if they're not done well, are incredibly cancerous to all shows. Maybe there are a couple more examples of fanships ruining the show, and maybe you guys can share some of them in the comments, because Arrow is the one thing that pops up in my mind, and I haven't seen a lot of shows lately, so maybe you guys can share some of your most hated fanships that turn canon in the comments. One of the biggest reasons why fanships that turn canon don't always work is because the creators are doing it for the sake of the fans, and in that respect it's fine if you're gonna pander to what the fans wanted. That's what you as a creator are supposed to do. But when you're going to pander into the fans, at least have a vision and a proper direction on where to take the story with in that particular element. Don't just make a fanship canon just for the sake of pandering. Legend of Korra showed Korra and Asami in the end for no particular reason, and very little build-up or a clear hint that they're in a relationship. Some would argue it's so subtle that you miss it, but I would say it's so subtle it's non-existent. And please don't give me conspiracy theories in the comments. I've had way too many John Locke fans give me conspiracy theories about their pairings. Hell, the entire team when making Season 1 or Season 2 have almost little to no direction to where they're going for, which resulted in 2 very poor starting seasons and 2 genuinely good ones when the team decided, hey, let's actually freaking focus on making a good story for once and stop inserting subplots. So in short, for all of you morons in Tumblr who wants your favorite ships to be canon to the point where you'd either send death threats to the authors or blackmail them, no, seriously, those actually happen. Perhaps demanding certain ships to be canon as shown from time to time might not lead to great success, especially when those writers do it for the sake of the fans without knowing what to do with the characters. Perhaps leaving things to be untapped potentials are the best course of action because we really don't want to see when people tap your stack of cards and it fumbles down into little pieces. Do you want to see your favorite shows ruined because of you demanding certain ships to be canon? Like I always say, be careful what you wish for. Try to find out why you love the shows that you watch in the first place and ask yourself if focusing on the ship aspect that you wish to happen in the show is a good thing for the future of it. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead, click the like button, and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon, or the dogs will bark you.